Hi, and welcome to the ZP Developer Zone. So we like to do this Developer Zone once a week, and even though today is the 6th of July, we did promise we put this out on the 7th of July, but I have to put it out slightly early. But that said, I'm going to dive forward. It's mostly going to be a lot of talk today, and it's actually going to be about lactate sensing. I will touch upon our Sense It All potentiostat platform. I've got one in front of me now, which is really for sort of IVD work. We also have what I kind of call a tier one technology for doing wearable biosensors. But I have a couple of webinars. I have an actual webinar next week. So if you want to see about wearable, for example, microneedle technologies for measuring things like CGM, continuous glucose monitoring, then please come to the webinar next week. Well, that said, I'll shoot forward then. So there is a lot of talk, but I do have some hardware in front of me, but the hardware is not really going to feature too much today. But if you are in the world of doing biosensor development, just know we're pretty strong. We've got a very nice potentiostat, and we've also got a very nice wearables platform as well. That said, I'll go forward, and today's mostly about lactate sensing. We do have a couple of upcoming webinars. So if you're interested in point of need, point of care testing, or just doing electroanalytical chemistry, then we do have a Sense It All webinar next week. Today's the 6th of July, so this is only in 5 days from now. And we do one in the morning and one in the afternoon. The UK happens to, well, not happens, it sits sort of in the middle of the time zone. So if we do one in the morning, it's really good for guys, people who are in, let's say, Asia. And the one in the afternoon works really well for people in the Americas. We do have some other webinars going on as well. I think on the 9th of July, which is quite relevant for today's question. We are doing a much deeper dive into wearable biosensors, so maybe come along to that on the 9th of July. On the 18th of July, if you're in academia and you're very interested in education research and translation of academic research into products, and you're particularly interested in kind of technology around electroanalytical sciences, then please come to the webinar on the 18th of July, and we'll sort of give you a roadmap there, including technology. And when I say including technology, I will be talking about this Sense It All platform, which I've got here. It uses screen printed electrodes and has a very nice connectivity. Here I've got square wave voltammetry. This is the potentiostat itself. These are the kind of electrodes or screen printed electrodes we use with it. It's driven by Bluetooth connection with my smartphone. And it's a very modern way of actually doing, let's say, electroanalytical science. And that's why we want to sort of talk to our academic colleagues, and that's why we have these monthly webinars. So if you're in academia or you're a student, your PhD, etc., then please come to that webinar on the 18th of July. If any links jump up, by the way, I'll make sure I put them underneath the video later on. So I had a series of questions. When we get a list of questions, it is actually easier to answer questions on the weekend, because it just gives you the thinking time. During the week, there's lots of meetings, lots of things going on. So if you need to think about something, then I find that the weekend is slightly better. Can the lactate sensor be measured in a continuous mode? And so the quick answer is yes. I'll put some data up in a minute and talk through that. How long can the electrode last? We've got, of our lactate sensor, the most we've continuously used one is actually 8 hours. Most of the applications we come across don't require them to be more than that. So 8 hours is the maximum runtime that we've measured. We have measured lactate in sweat. I'm pretty sure that if you Google lactate measurement in sweat, you should find Zimmer and Peacock, but I'll bring that up today anyway. But the quick answer is yes. That's why we primarily developed the lactate sensor. These days, we only support our sensors using our electronics. You find that once people start using electronics from third parties or their own electronics, the first question you get is, oh, it's not working. And then it's the electronics that's up. So we will only support our lactate sensors on our electronics. You can buy small quantities, by the way. If you follow the links I'm going to give today, the smallest quantity of lactate sensor you can order is 10. So the answer to your question, is it possible to give it a small quantity of 10? The answer is yes. With your electronics, if you do it with your electronics, then it's essentially, you carry the risk of the sensors and the electronics not working together. The microfluidics, I think the microfluidics have a working volume of about 4 microliters, so it doesn't require that much sweat. The microfluidics that we have on the website, we have used them for sweat. So that's why they were developed. And they were actually developed specifically for doing lactate sensing. We do have cortisol sensors. We never, outside of large, well-funded programs, we never release our cortisol sensing technology. We realize it's super valuable. We really need to be very involved in it. So only on well-funded, often programs with sort of private companies, because they have the kind of budgets that are otherwise needed. So we do have it, but we don't make it available, any of it, outside of well-funded programs. That said, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper in. This photo was taken pre-2019, so we've been working on lactate sensing. In fact, I remember, because near the end of this project, nearish the end of this, was actually when when COVID came along. So we had finished this work just before November 2019. So I remember it's gone back a while now. So we set up one of our guys with some electronics, ZP electronics, and also a lactate sensor and a lactate sweat patch. And we were recording their data, and this is actually the data that we got off. Now, this signal we did is translated the signal into concentration of lactate. But we did get the signal off it. This is this is real data. We had the start of the cycling. So even though he's perspiring, we didn't get a lactate signal because we didn't get the specific reaction with the enzyme. And then there's a kind of moment then where the strain kicks in. And it's interesting because once somebody reports that they're actually straining, the lactate signal is very quick to come. And it's because lactate production is in all of the tissues. It's not like glucose where you basically absorb glucose from things that you eat. So there's a sort of, there's a series of time delays about eating, absorption, transportation, and then you may see the glucose signal. With lactate, as soon as you go anaerobic, the signal jumps up. So I was really quite surprised. But then, of course, we had a good look at the literature. And their signals were exactly the same as ours. So we were like, okay, so we're all seeing the same thing. So, there are a few academic groups that have done this kind of work as well. And when we looked at our signal, the way it raised, even the way it had this dip in it, which is due to a glucagon release, they had exactly the same thing in their own data online as well. So very happy with that. The volume approximately of this sweat patch is about 4 microliters. It's been designed to continuously gather sweat to bring sweat over the sensor all of the time. If you want to find out a bit more about it, we do have a video showing the assembly. If you see a link from me, then that link will also be underneath this, let's say this video at the end of this as well. So we do have the sweat patch, and we also have the electronics as well. We have a developer's board, and this is the actual electronics, let's say themselves. And we will only support essentially our own electronics. So if people contact us and say, well, this happened quite a few times, things are not working, and then you start finding out that what you're really doing is troubleshooting somebody's Arduino board, which is really unfair. So we will only support, let's say, our own electronics. We do have a lactate in sweat landing page, and on that you can find electronics, you can find lactate sensor, and you can also find sweat construction kit as well. So I'd say if you've got any questions regarding lactate in sweat, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Okay, thanks very much.